Welcome back to Pastry Maestra. I'm Teresa, and today I'm going to teach you how to line a tart mold and bake the tart shell. Admit, are you one of those people who toss their freshly prepared short crust pastry in the tart mold and then press it in with your fingers? Are you? Not good. You see, by doing that finger pressing action, you actually torture your delicate short crust pastry, and you'll get an uneven, thick layer of dough, full of indents. If you stay with me for a few minutes, I will teach you how to do that properly. But first, let me explain what tart actually is. Let me put it this way. If you were building a house of sweetness, tart would be your cornerstone. If you were fabricating a candy car, tart would be your chassis. You get the point, right? Tart is a big deal. It is a baked dish made of short crust pastry in most cases, and the filling is on top of the dough. Unlike a pie, which is always covered with pastry on the top, tart is always open. The filling can be sweet or savory. All the modern tarts are usually sweet. The name comes from the French term tarte, which means both a pie and a tart. In medieval Europe, pies were mostly savory, filled with cheese, eggs, or different sorts of meat. But here and there one could taste sweet pie filled with fruits. Some 200 years later, in the 16th century, it is believed that short crust pastry appeared. But sweet tarts were reserved for nobility, while humble pie filled with offal and leftovers was a commoner's everyday food. Nowadays, tarts are in most cases sweet, filled with apple compote, chocolate ganache, or lemon curd, for example. The links are in the description below. But you can use various other sweet or savory fillings. Now, first things first. To line a tart mold, you have to make the dough. And the best one is made from scratch. Naturally, I have made a whole post about making short crust pastry. So, check it out too. The link is also in the description below. Okay, so you've made your dough and it is in the fridge. This is mandatory. So let's talk about molds. From my experience, removable bottom molds are the best. Once your tart is baked and filled, you have to cool it down and remove it from the mold, of course. If you have the mold with removable bottom, removing your tart is a piece of cake. Excuse the pun. Now, don't be scared by those construction sites or car garage metaphors from before. All you have to do now is prepare your mold, have some dried beans or chickpeas on hand, and I'll teach you the rest. Let's see how to line a tart mold and bake the tart shell. My short crust pastry is nicely chilled and rested. I took it out from the fridge and now I'm gonna break it with the palm of my hand and press it over the table surface a few times until it gets more elastic. I won't do it too long, the pastry has to stay as cold as possible. Now I'm ready for rolling. At this stage it is important to rotate the dough as you roll so it doesn't stick to the surface. If you need to add more flour, add it carefully. If you add too much flour, it will affect the texture of the pastry. I'm gonna keep rolling and rotating until I get even 3 to 5 millimeters, which is 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick sheet, which should be larger than my mold. I'm happy with the thickness and size of my rolled dough, so it is time to roll it onto my rolling pin, put it over the mold and gently unroll the pastry. The next step is to quickly lift the sides of the pastry and tuck it into the mold without breaking it, which isn't simple, especially at this moment when the dough is at room temperature for some time. Now it's time to remove the excess dough. The easiest way to do that is to take my rolling pin, press it in the middle of the mold and roll out to one side and then to the other one. And now I'm gonna gently press the sides of my tart with my thumb all around. If your hands are too warm, you can take some of the remaining pastry and form it into a ball. Roll the ball into the flour so it doesn't stick and gently press the ball to the sides of the pastry in the mold. Now I'm going to remove the excess dough with my small knife by cutting it from the inside out at the top of the tart mold. I'm happy with my tart shell and now I'm going to put it in the fridge for 10 minutes. Before baking, I have to fill my tart shell with baking weights. Without weights, the sides of my tart shell would melt and slide down while baking, and the bottom of the tart would rise. I'm putting thermostable foil and baking weights inside. You can use some dry beans or chickpeas instead of weights. I'm gonna bake my tart shell at 180 centigrade, which is 350 Fahrenheit, for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna remove the weights and put the tart shell back into the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes until it is completely baked. My tart shell is fully baked. At this point, I will lightly brush the inside of my tart shell entirely with an egg wash and take it back into the oven for another 2 minutes to cook the egg. The egg wash will act like a varnish to my baked tart shell, ensuring that no matter how moist is the filling, my tart shell always remains crispy and dry. There, now you know how to line a tart mold and bake the tart shell. Regarding the filling for your tarts, I have a few suggestions. Check the links below or simply dream up your perfect sweet or savory filling and enjoy your delicious, crispy tart. Bon appétit! I'm Teresa. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to stay in touch, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course, visit my site where you can find elaborate posts with lots of pictures, additional information and recipes that follow my every video. Also, on my site you can download my free 365 pages ebook, The Pastry Chef, and maybe buy me a macaron, if you think that I've earned it. Now, before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps a lot. Finally, and this is the most important thing, don't forget to create sweetness every day, because sweetness is happiness. See you in my next video. Bye!